Hey, it's me, Tim from New Perspectives Music, and it's been a real long time since I've done like a tips video, so I just thought I'd put together this quick little tips video of some specific to reclaimed woodworking tips that I've come up with over the years. I don't think I'm repeating any of these from previous videos, but this is just specific to reclaimed woodworking because that's what I do. So the first one is gum. Furniture is a great place to get reclaimed wood, and in this case I have a butcher block oak dining table from a restaurant, and of course some losers stuck gum all over the bottom of it. Now I always keep a chisel that is not one of my good chisels. I have this one that's kind of cool. It's got like a rasp on it, and I have chisels like this for just such occasions as doing really gross things, or where I run the risk of damaging them. But then for actual carving and chisel work I have other chisels. So keep a beater chisel. That's tip number one. Tip number two is to get this gum off. I can just scrape it off with the chisel and it comes off. You can see, even though this gum is really, really old, it's still a little sticky in there and sticks up my chisel. So this is for cleaning dust out of computers and whatnot. And the neat thing about these compressed gases is that they get really cold when you pull them. So you can freeze the gum with one of these, and that makes it a little bit easier to get off. If I had just left that on when I run it through my planer, I would make a mess of my planer blades. Before I run this through my planer, I want to make sure there's no nails in it. Now this is a dining table, so chances are I'm pretty safe, but I have this very inexpensive wand. It's like a metal detector wand like they have at airports. I got it from the cheap toy store. Cheap tool store. And I can simply wave this over the wood to see if there are any nails in it. But what you have to be careful of is make sure you're sure that the area you're working doesn't have metal in it. Like I have screws in my bench, I have this tool here, table saw, so it's real easy to get a false reading like that. I'm reading my table saw, not the wood you see here. So just make sure you have a nice area around you to do it. And if you don't have one of these, just a small, strong magnet will do. And you can just simply put it on the wood and sort of go around. The bigger the magnet, the faster it is. It's a great way to do it. And if you don't want to spend money on magnets because you're super, super cheap, someone threw out an old speaker near you, I'm sure. This will work too. You can see in a matter of minutes, this is basically a brand new piece of wood ready to be worked into whatever you're going to make from it. I can't stress what a good source of reclaimed wood furniture can be. I mean, obviously we think of pallets and barnwood and, hollow core doors and all that stuff when we're looking for reclaimed materials, but furniture is great. And if you find stuff that is, 80s and earlier, it's usually solid wood. Even some of the stuff with like the veneers on it from the 80s and 90s, if you take the veneer off, it's like a lesser wood underneath it. So a lot of times I've picked up like tables that are, you think they're solid oak, and then you start working them and you realize they're poplar in the center, but they're not mushboard, they're not plywood, they're still solid wood. It's only the stuff of the past 20 years or so that is almost all garbage that's on a consumer level. So when you see something on the side of the road, stop and take a look. You can usually tell pretty quick if it's real wood or not. And if you end up getting it home and it's not real wood, that mush board and all that stuff can come in handy for shop fixtures and whatnot. So, if it's not water damaged or totally wrecked, you'll find that stuff will come in handy, or you can put it out on your curb for the next person, There's a chain of feeders, right? Top to bottom. And us reclaimers, we're at the bottom, but there's still someone beneath us that's ready to reclaim stuff that even we don't want. So don't throw it away, man. Someone will take it. Well, where do I find all this great free wood to reclaim and recycle? Well, of course, there's the internet like Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, and FreeCycle, and of course, just driving around town and whatnot, you're going to see some stuff. Word of mouth is your best friend. Talk to people, let them know, like, hey, I'm making stuff out of reclaimed stuff. Let me know when you're throwing something out before you throw it away first. And, I personally get lots of messages from people saying, hey, I have this old thing or that old thing I'm throwing away. Do you want it? Don't feel obligated to take it. You can say no if it doesn't work for you and then thank them for thinking of you, but that's another great way to do it. People don't really want to throw things away, especially nowadays. It costs usually to throw them away, so just let people know what you're looking for. And then another great place to look is, of course, the industrial side of town. That is where the pallets are and all the shipping crates and stuff, and a lot of these guys are just too busy to deal with them. They just throw them out with free signs. That's where I find most of my stuff. And when you're looking for free furniture, it's real easy to find on the wrong side of the tracks. On the right side of the tracks, it's a little harder sometimes to find stuff on the curb, but it does end up there somewhere sometimes, and that's usually the stuff that's hardwood and not pressboard. And often towns will have a bring it to the curb day, like once or twice a year, where they encourage people to throw away their large stuff. Find out what towns near you do that, especially those 6-7 figure towns, because you wouldn't believe what some of those people throw away. I got a whole mahogany bureau once, solid mahogany, an inch thick, thrown away. Sometimes when you're searching that Facebook marketplace or whatever, don't be afraid to look for stuff that's for sale, because a lot of times you'll find people will have, like, you know, grandma's dining table that is a solid piece of wood that's just not stylish. They might be asking $50 for it. Sometimes people just think they can get money for it. Let them know, like, hey, I'm interested in that. You know, I'm going to make other stuff from it. If you don't sell it, let me know. I'll give you an offer of like $10 or something like that. You know, sometimes it's worth buying it, because you can often spend $10, $20 on a dining table and get $100, $200 worth of wood out of the deal. So don't just search the free stuff. Don't be afraid to buy stuff and cut it up. I do that all the time too. Okay, let's talk about nails. They are your nemesis, just like they are my nemesis. Getting them out can be a hassle. There's a couple basic tools that come in handy. A hammer, a claw hammer, of course, and then some larger pry bars like this sometimes come in handy. I find that these bullnose pliers are really useful for grabbing nails and pulling them out. And of course, a couple of these little types of punches that you can use to punch the nails through and kind of tap them out so you can grab them when they're stuck there. And they make these in a bunch of different sizes. If you watch my videos, you've certainly seen me use this, although you may have never heard me talk about it. I actually had a little bit of a viral Instagram video over too. But then there's these air denailers, which I got hip to. I'd seen them in the past from reclaimers, but I thought they were really expensive and something I didn't necessarily need. And then Paul Jackman hipped me to this particular one, which you can get online for about $50. And if you do this kind of work, this is the best $50 you're ever going to spend if you're doing it frequently. You know, I'm not going to plug brand names or anything. It's called an air denailer, and I'm not going to give you any affiliate links because screw all those people. But if you can go find one and buy it from the enemy that you are most comfortable about being in bed with. So here, let me show you on this board that I have right here that is some very, very hard wood, and it has these tough galvanized nails in them. Now, of course, you know, the old-fashioned way would be to sort of bang them out with a hammer, right? Then you gotta flip it over and do all that stuff. But with this air denailer, it makes it so much easier. So this, like I said, is some really dense wood. If this were lighter wood and these are smaller nails or through lighter nails, one punch is going to shoot this nail right through to the ground, and it might even bounce back up. So make sure you're wearing eye protection or have like a bucket underneath you or something, but I know from experience that these nails are not going to go flying in this dense wood. So basically all it is a nail gun, but it works in reverse. So instead of punching a nail, it punches this little piston out that pushes the nail through. So you slide it over the end of the nail sticking out, kind of straighten it out a little bit. You can use the metal shaft of it and just pull the trigger. And you can see these nails are in here really tough, so might need to give them a couple hits. And then it pushes it out and it really loosens that up for you. When you're talking about doing large amounts of this type of work, this tool is worth its weight in gold. Check out this sneaky little devil right here. See that fella toenailed in? See if I can get him. This bad boy obviously runs off an air compressor, so you will need one of those, but they are inexpensive too. Free firewood can be a great source of wood too. A lot of times you'll see, you know, people get a tree cut down, they don't want to pay to get it taken away. I don't have any big fancy machinery for chopping this stuff down, and obviously this is just going to be for small projects. But even though I only have a small bandsaw and a regular table saw, I can simply split this in half or in quarters or whatever I need to get more manageable boards. Again, it's only for small projects, but sometimes people cut down pretty trees. Now this is something I can handle on my table saw or bandsaw to clean it up and get some boards. It's not quite perfectly square yet. I have to run it over the joint real quick, but you know, it was free, and it was just destined for firewood. I can be more careful with it and get more efficient boards out, or I can just throw this stuff back into my firewood pit. You also want to make sure it's not too wet. Sometimes you want to hang on to these logs for a little while, or cut them down rough to size and let them sit a little while. I'm sure many of you know that hollow core doors are a personal passion of mine to reclaim and upcycle, because they are like number one to end up in a dumpster during a house remodel. And I have a whole bunch of videos showing different things that I've done with hollow core doors, including one specific video that really goes into the nuts and bolts of how and why I dismantle them to be as efficient as possible. So I'd invite you to check that out. And of course, there are a million videos out there about different ways to dismantle pallets, and there's a million ways that could work for you that with the tools you have, how much time you want to spend, how wasteful you want to be, and how blah blah blah. I'm not going to bore you with all that. Go check out any of those other videos. I think even I have one. But the one point I did want to make about pallet wood is that in the process of taking them apart, this happens a lot. They split, and the reason is because they use kind of usually the garbagey pieces of wood for the pallets, and that makes them look really pretty. As you can see, this is a very nice looking piece of wood, but it also means that they're usually not as strong as the stuff that they cut in the boards. So this will happen all the time. And I say, let it crack. Let it crack, don't worry about it. Don't try to gingerly get these boards off while you're doing it, because I would rather know where the weak points are while I'm dismantling the pallets than when I'm building the guitar out of the pallet. So now I have this board and I can see where all the problems are, and I can cut around them, or I can repair them if I want to use them and make the repair part of the look. So when dismantling pallets, I used to be real careful about it and try to very gingerly and carefully break the boards apart, and now I'm less so. I let that stuff happen, and then I deal with what I have accordingly. It just seems to make a little bit more sense to me. So I hope that these quick tips were useful to you, and like I said, I have other videos, other people have other videos. These are just some things that were on my mind today as I was doing this that I thought you might find useful. Let me know what tips you have for working with reclaimed and repurposed materials in the comments below, especially if you have any secret honey holes that you want to share with all the other viewers of where they might go looking for stuff. Thanks a lot. Be good.